This is the MSR Dragonfly stove. If you're considering buying one of these or taking it with you, it comes with a stuff sack, something like this one, a windscreen made out of aluminum foil, and a pump that looks like this. This mounts on your fuel bottle regardless of what size you buy. Now we're ready to demonstrate how to light the Dragonfly stove. There's a couple of things that I wanted to point out before I connect it up and actually light it. And I wanted to show you that the burner actually tilts and swivels out of the way. And on the bottom is a fabric that's non-flammable that acts as a wick around the base of the burner. And this is important. The bottom of the burner is like a basin, so that it can hold a little bit of fuel when you start it up. You need a little bit of fuel to spill into this basin to soak into the wick, so that when you light it, it heats the capillary tube, which is a different design from the other ones, and allows the heat to pass to the gas as it passes through the capillary tube, so that when it's ejected to the burner itself, it burns very hot because it's already been preheated. Also, make sure, again, as I pointed out before, that this valve is completely, fully clockwise to shut off any gas. Unfortunately, this particular model stove has two valves on it instead of one, making it a little more complicated for setting up. So let me prepare it for setup and we'll light it. Alright, we're ready. Previously, I've pumped the fuel bottle and I've got pressure in there, remembering now that the more or less fuel in the bottle will determine how much you have to pump the tank. If it's not as full, it's going to take a lot of pumping. If it's very full, it's going to take very little pumping. But when it gets very, very full or very, very low, you may have to pump it somewhere in between in your burning segment. So I've attached the pump and the stoves together, and I'm locking them into place with the wire gate. The next thing we want to do is to open the fuel valve on the tank first. This will allow gas to escape from the tank to the stove. The second valve we're going to open is the burner valve. And what we want to do is to listen for gas to escape and look for gas in the pan that's underneath. I would suggest that somewhere around a half a teaspoon of fuel is more than adequate for starting the stove. But using it and over time with experience, you'll determine how much fuel you have to allow in there. And I think you'll also find that on colder days, a little more fuel is needed. So I'll do that next. You listen for the noise. Okay. So I've got enough fuel in there to basically just wet the bottom of the cup. Not a lot, just a little bit. And I'll light it. It's going to flame up yellow like this. This is perfectly normal. I think I might need just a little more fuel. If you need more, just let some more in. Shut it back off. Don't leave the valve open. Leave it shut. You want the fuel that's escaped into the pan to burn off before you ignite the stove properly. Just let it burn. It's getting the elements hot so that as the fuel comes in from the tank, it's going to heat that fuel before it actually gets to the burner, and it will flash very quickly and burn very hot. And you'll notice as time passes, the flame will get smaller. If it goes out, don't worry about it. Start it off nice and easy. The more it burns, the hotter it's going to get, the more heat it's going to put off. But be gentle with it. This makes a bit of noise, but it is a very good stove because it puts out a lot of heat for boiling and very little heat for simmer. At this point, I've got the stove open full tilt. This will boil a pot of water in a reasonable period of time. After you've finished with your stove, turn off the gas tank first. Why? We want any fuel in the lines to escape. I want the stove to burn off any residual fuel that might be left in this line. And then, after the stove goes out, I'll turn off the burner valve. It's in the opposite, it's the same order as when we started it. Tank first, and then the burner valve second. Okay, so now it's gone out. Hopefully any fuel that's left in this line has been burned off, and I can shut this particular valve off as well. Again, by turning it fully clockwise. Like all stoves, let the stove cool completely before you attempt to put it away. And after you've disconnected the stove from the fuel bottle, you may find that there's a little bit of residual fuel in the bottom or in the hose. Just simply give it a little shake and it'll wear out very quickly. But don't forget, wait until the stove is completely cool in order to do this. Put the Dragonfly away. It's pretty simple actually. Take the valve first of all, hold down on one of the legs, and tilt the burner down into the cup, like so. Then take the legs one at a time and fold them around the side of the cup so that all three are like so. Then there's a hook that was used on the bale to hold this unit in place on the tank. Notice there's a hole here. Simply bend it down, stick it in the hole, catch it like that, fold the burner valve down, and it's ready to go in the bag. Final step is once everything is cool and you've dismantled it, you're going to pack this away for tomorrow's use. Simply crack the valve, or crack the seal, listen for all the gas to escape, and when it's all escaped, now the pressure's removed inside the bottle, screw it back down nice and snug. This can be put in a plastic bag and packed in your backpack for safe transportation.